Welcome back to the DNC. We are here live in Chicago at the United Center as we continue this long but exciting week here at the convention as the party gets ready to officially nominate Vice President Kamala Harris as the presidential candidate. And I'm now joined by, I still call him Mayor Bill de Blasio because he was my mayor in New York City, but I guess you're a civilian now, so I'll just call you Bill. Hi, Bill. Welcome.
Call me Bill, and I just want to say, because you're from Brooklyn, I honor you. Because Brooklynites are the toughest, the smartest, the most streetwise, you name it.
That's right. Says a man from
I'm
Brooklyn.
I'm a Brooklynite.
So happy to have you here. You're in Chicago as a civilian, though.
Yep.
You're not in public service anymore. What are you currently working on?
Teaching, consulting, speaking around the world, commentary, a bunch of different things. But I'm here because I believe in Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. And we have a chance now to remake America. I mean, let's be real. This is almost like a divine intervention occurred in the last month. It's something so extraordinary for Joe Biden to make the decision he made, which I can personally tell you is not easy to decide to leave this life. And then for Kamala Harris to come in as gracefully, as quickly, as intensely, as humanly. I mean, her human quality has been extraordinary. Her vision. She's presented, honestly, a much more compelling vision than Biden had in the campaign previously. The whole world has been remade in the course of a month, but we all have work to do. We now have to make it real.
Well, you know what it's like as a politician to have to pivot, because
Yeah.
I was one of your residents when you
Yep.
were working COVID, and you pivoted every day. You needed to be able to capture the attention of all New Yorkers, but in our case, in all of America and the world.
Yeah.
How can Vice President Harris pivot to capture all of these other voting blocks that President Biden hadn't necessarily gained yet? And we're just 3 months away from the election.
Look, I think she started about as well as you possibly could have humanly. I mean, it's like she has presented an authentic vision and an authentic self. And I think we're seeing a side of Kamala Harris we didn't get to see before, and people like it. It certainly speaks to the women of America who will decide this election. I think her focus on reproductive freedom is powerful and necessary. I think a lot of the mainstream media underestimate, and the mainstream political class underestimate, that the choice issue will be dominant, because the women of America will get to decide versus the guy who took away their right to choose or the woman who's going to bring it back. I know where they're going. They're going to choose Kamala Harris. So that's going to energize women. That's going to energize, certainly, on top of that, people of color are feeling something they did not feel before enough with Joe Biden, younger voters, progressive voters. But now she has the challenge of just constantly getting out there and spreading the gospel, as it were, showing that vision. She did it wonderfully with the economic speech last week. Got to do more. She's got to add to it.
Yeah, I think there actually needs a full agenda that is being laid out this week. But you said something I want to go back to in terms of people of color. Our audience is made up of people of color. We're a large voting bloc, and President Biden, love him, but you know this. There was a dip from when President Obama was. All of the excitement and the high numbers of people of color going to the polls. That dropped a little bit with President Biden.
Yep.
But then since then, we've even had people of color, specifically Black Americans, say that they want to go over to the Trump side. Number one, how's that possible? But number two, what's the plan, or what's an idea or suggestion to remedy that and bring black voters back to the Democratic side?
Look, we learned everything we need to learn to answer that question in the state of Georgia in the year 2020. The amazing work that was done to elect the two senators, obviously. And by the way, Reverend Warnock was unbelievable last night. I mean, he said things that I hope all of America takes to heart. But that work was done on the ground. That was not...
A Jewish man and a black man.
Yeah, amazing.
Georgia.
In Georgia.
Yeah.
But the work was done on the ground. And it was largely done by African-American women who will never be famous. We know Stacey Abrams. We love her. We honor her. But there were thousands of grassroots women, leaders, activists in rural counties, in suburban counties, in Atlanta itself, et cetera, who did that work of building infrastructure. This is not just about knocking on doors. This is about being in houses of worship. This is about neighbor to neighbor. This is about talking to people at family gatherings. There's a lot of people will get off that Trump flirtation if their family, their neighbors, the people they worship with, go right up to them and say, we got to be there for Kamala, and make it personal. This is personal. And by the way, every woman should tell every man, this is personal. Your body As a man, you get to decide what to do with. Women don't have that right now in America. This is personal. You got to be there for your women.
What do you say, or what is the thought process for the black men that I talk to that say, but I made more money, my pockets were fatter, you know, there was more income coming in under Donald Trump?
I think I understand people are practical, but let's do a little history. There was a pandemic. It threw everything off. That was not Joe Biden's doing. Joe Biden helped get us out of it, thank God. This economy, look, wages have been going up. People aren't feeling enough. We got more to do, but wages have been going up. Inflation is coming down. And in the end, if you're looking at Kamala Harris, who's going to be committed to the black community in the deepest way, versus taking a chance on an overt racist who's making claims that he's interested in your well-being when he has literally constantly said the opposite. If you saw that recent imagery, that horrible, horrible Republican imagery that said, you know, this is your neighborhood under Donald Trump with the American flag and the picket fence, and it was white, 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 and here's what's going to look like if it's Kamala Harris and it was all people of color. I mean, you don't need to know anything else. He is appealing to the worst racial instincts of America. There's not a black voter out there who should accept that.
There are two issues right now that are heavy weighing going into November 5th. Project 2025
Yep.
and the war in Israel.
Sure.
Now, the speeches were great.
Yep.
We heard, but we did not hear anything about Israel. We live in the city where we have had the most protest about this war.
Sure.
And we see, and there's happening everywhere. They're happening right outside our door right now. How do you suggest, as a surrogate to the Harris campaign, how do you suggest that they tackle the war in the Middle East?
I think
Because you can't hide from it.
No, you can't, and you shouldn't.
And that's a voter bloc of people of color that need to get to the polls.
100%. Look, I actually would just respectfully challenge one thing. I think, you know, not only did AOC speak about it last night, but President Biden himself said the protesters have a point. The President of the United States said that. So I think the difference here is when Kamala Harris obviously was going to get the nomination, she said things that we needed to hear more about the suffering of Palestinians. You can believe in the state of Israel, as I do. You can believe that the Jewish people need a homeland, as I do. But you can also say Benjamin Netanyahu has created a massive humanitarian crisis. He needs to go. America will not be party to it. We will defend Israel, but we will not be party to the suffering of people, civilians, and we demand change in the Israeli approach. She started down that road. I think she has to go farther down that road.
She has to figure out how to bring that together because Americans want to hear that. I don't know if we have time for Project 25. I know you're on the run, but in your off the top of your head,
Yeah.
what are your thoughts on it? What do people need to know? Why they should be aware and look out for what Project 25 really is?
I think the simplest way to say it is not only a pathway to a kind of dictatorship, honestly, but the rich will get richer. I mean, for all those folks worried about the kitchen table issues in their own pocketbook, you look at that document, it is tailor-made to put more and more power in the hands of fewer and fewer wealthy individuals, and very few of those individuals will be people of color. I mean, the Trump project has been racist from day one, but it's also been about giving money back to the rich, not to the poor. Let's be clear. Biggest tax cuts for the wealthy and the corporations in the history of the United States of America. And Project 2025 puts that on steroids. That's the way to think about it in real human terms.
How does this moment feel for you right now?
Otherworldly and beautiful, amazing. I was feeling down after the debate. I'm not going to lie, I was feeling very down. The turnaround has been one of the greatest, fastest, most amazing moments in American political history, and I'm just thrilled to be a part of it.
We need you back in public service.
Well, thank you.
Mayor de
I
Blasio.
accept.
Thank you so much for stopping by on
Thank
Politics
you.
in Color. Everyone, Mayor Bill de
Thank you
Blasio
very
here
much.
joining us. Stay with us.